hot diggity damn. It's another edition of Draped and Gold, your one-stop shop for NXT content all around the world. My name is Flobo Boyce, and I'm enjoying this holiday week. But as always, I'm not alone. I'm being joined by the award-winning MC, DJ, and sometimes a nice guy, but not to me, the real Jack Farmer.
Because I'm proud to be an American. Because it's the 4th of July weekend. I am so excited for a big time week. It's going to be a big week in wrestling as well. Obviously, we had a great event here for NXT this week, but Heatwave right around the corner, coming up around the bend, as Creedence Clearwater would say in the old days. Flobo, it's a good time to be.
Yeah, I love it. Even though that Heatwave is going to be in Canada. I'm just kidding. You got plans for the 4th of July, my friend?
Because I'm proud to be a Canadian.
Oh, now you're gonna switch? You just gonna you just Heart Foundation everybody.
What's up, Ricky Sinclair? Good to see you.
It must be on the East Coast because it's 10 a.m. over here in LA. Yeah, are you planning on doing the whole cookout thing? Are you doing anything rad for the 4th of July?
Yeah, you know, fortunately, I live close to the water, so I like to head down to the beach and
fortunately, those property taxes must be crazy.
Yeah, you know, you gotta pay to live by the beach, I guess.
Right.
Which is why I don't live too close to the beach.
Oh, close to the beach. I don't live that close.
You know how it is, though. But yeah, probably gonna go get some sun by the beach. I go on a bike ride every 4th of July with my good old pal Andy. How about yourself? What are you doing?
I am supposed to. So I don't know if you guys can see this on the video version, but I am a honorary commander of the United States Air Force Band of the Golden West, which is the Air Force Band for California. They're performing at the Rose Bowl for the LAFC, LA Galaxy game. So I'm going to go and do one of these. Hey, I'm a civilian, but I'm along with the Air Force. Hey, one of those things tomorrow. So,
you know, that's really cool that you do that. But I do think that you need to stop explaining what you do a little bit earlier. You should just say, I'm a commander for the U.S. Air Force.
No, because people thank me for their service and give me discounts. I'll take discounts, but I don't feel weird. I feel weird thanking for my service. I did nothing. I did an application. Yeah. I didn't sign up.
I once met someone. I was introduced to someone because they were like, my friend was like, hey, this person, they play for the Seahawks, Jack. You got to meet them. I was like, oh my God, they play for the Seattle Seahawks, the football team. Yeah, they play for the football team, the Seattle Seahawks. I go meet them. Tiny individual. I was like, what do you do? You play for the Seahawks? What? And they're like, yeah, I play in the band for the Seahawks. I play for the Seahawks.
Wow. That is, but see, you felt taken for a ride, didn't you?
Yes, but if I could take people for a ride, then choo-choo. Let's go for a ride, baby.
I just need people to salute me when I walk into a room. Let's be honest with you. But before we get into the shenanigans of NXT this week, just a little bit of a Lance Storm, if I could be serious for a moment. Thank you so much to everyone who's reached out to me in DMs and emails about Hurricane Beryl, which has battered the Caribbean islands over the past couple of days. We've contacted most of my family. Some are without electricity. Some have electricity, but are kind of milking it. You know what I'm saying? But we're all good. I really appreciate that. And I think sometimes I wonder if anyone cares, but you guys do. So that means the world to me.
Yeah, it's good to hear that so far everyone's doing all right out there. Yes. Scary times.
Scary times at all. Biz412 says, what's good, Flobo and Jack? Flobo the Waymo isn't scary at all. Waymo, if you guys see my YouTube page, I jump into the driverless car Waymo. It is kind of thrilling because it's all like nice and sensual with the little spa music, but there's no driver driving the car. So you go out in the traffic, you're like, well, Jesus, take the wheel because no one else will. But it's a lot of fun. So I would totally do it again.
You know, I think there is a marketing ploy they're missing there with the whole Jesus take the wheel thing for Waymo. But that's, I mean, it's funny because you're saying it's thrilling, and I'm sure it is. And I'm sure we're all going to feel the same way, very uncomfortable when we first try it. It'll be interesting when future generations are like, this is so dumb. Don't they have an easier way of doing this? We'll be like, what? No, it's crazy. It was terrifying the first time. Probably the same way they felt when they got into a car for the first time back when they were giving up horses.
Yeah, those poor horses, man. They were ridden hard and put away wet. All right, let's get into this.
Put away wet.
That's an old phrase. I looked it up because James Lott Jr., JLJ Media said it. I thought he was making it up, but actually it's a real thing. Ridden hard and put away wet. That's a real idiom expression. Sticky wickets. All right. So let's talk about NXT this weekend, this week. And it started off with an absolute banger after banger. Jada Parker, which to me is the presumptive face of the brand, who had a match against Mi Chin in the street fight, and it really went beyond the pale. We saw chairs, we saw projectiles, we saw things go into your skin. Thoughts about this match? And look, I got to be honest with you, kind of an obvious question here, but is Jada Parker top of the table?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think a table is big enough for Jada Parker. I mean, this was, to me, watching this was Jada Parker's coronation. We've always known that she has it. We always have known that she's going to be the future. We've always known that she's a star. But to me, this match felt very much like Michael Jordan getting through Detroit. Had to get through that first, had to show us the toughness, had to show us the grit, had to show us that she could do it when things got really nasty. And she did that this week. Jada Parker got a tough win, a hard fought win against an industry veteran. This is now Jada Parker's time. She's no longer the future. She is the present. Jada Parker runs NXT. She runs the parking lot. She runs the streets. She runs wherever she wants to run because Jada Parker is it.
Well, I know Heatwave is pretty stacked. We'll get into predictions later on, but I would say this is worth being a Heatwave match despite this. Is this a missed opportunity having this on free TV? Because we all know cable costs money, but is this kind of a missed opportunity to have it on a regular Tuesday night episode of NXT?
Well, in hindsight, yes. In hindsight, I say, yeah, this could have been something people would have quote unquote paid money for with a PLE pay-per-view. However, a lot of, for the audio listeners, there's a lot of air quotes getting thrown.
Oh yeah, air quotes
now.
are fun.
Just if you just keep the air quotes up, you could say whatever you want. And it's like a free get out of jail free card.
Yeah, I believe in you, Jack, for sure.
I'm a commander in the Air Force.
Don't get me thrown to jail.
So but again, that's in hindsight. Like I said, this was the coronation. This means when this match started, it was still potential. When this match finished, we knew what we had. We know exactly what we've got on our hands here. And so having it on weekly TV made sense when it started. Now that we know how it went, yeah, it's like, oh, woo, people would have paid money for that. People would have wanted to see that on the big show. So should it have gone on Heatwave? Now I think so, yes. But I also don't blame anyone for putting it on weekly programming.
Mi Chin looked pretty tough, even in defeat, but she wore an NXT shirt. Is that a curse for her? I mean, what's going on with that?
You know, it might be, but I thought it was really cool. It's funny how I love how quickly shirts look like throwbacks because those We Are NXT shirts aren't that old. But she put that on and it was like, yes, throwback, black and gold, baby. It was actually really cool. I thought I, in fact, really dug the look for her this week. But you're right. Maybe it is a curse. It feels like every time she does a throwback, it doesn't work out that well.
I got to be honest with you. I went to the storage unit this week because sidebar. So I'm a wedding DJ, like this guy over here, and I have to lube my deck, which sounds so gross, but it's definitely something you have to do for after.
Did you put it away wet?
I totally did. Wrote it hard and put it away wet. And I have an old bag of clothes, and most of them, because I used to buy a bunch of when I was at our previous employer, AfterBuzz, I would buy all these like wrestling shirts for like the visual or the costuming or whatever. And there's like so many things that are like Bobby Roode or the Perfect 10. I have a Finn Balor Club. Remember Balor Club?
Yeah.
I have a Huggin is my business, but business is good Bailey shirt. It was like a weird walk down memory lane.
I feel like the Huggins My Business and Business is Good shirt didn't age well.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I feel
That's it. That happened to me at SummerSlam.
No, what?
So I go to SummerSlam. I think it's 2018. It's in Barclays. I'm in Brooklyn, and I'm wearing that shirt. I'm wearing the Huggins My Business. The business is good. And I decided to go to concessions, and there's a mom and her girl must be like 6 years old, right? And she sees it. She goes, "Hey, he's a hugger too." And I'm like, it's a gimmick, ma'am. I felt so weird now. Oh man, I wasn't weird when I bought it. I felt weird when someone called me out for wearing it. Yeah.
Right. Well, especially and now, with it being more hindsight and not relevant, now it's like you're a hugger, huh?
Yeah, exactly. How's that going for you?
but it's but yeah, a lot of them now. It's funny now. I look at shirts when I want ones to buy. I think what one will look cool as a throwback later, because there's a lot of them. I always thought Braun Breaker's NXT shirt he had for a while. It was just like a picture of him with some 80s. It looked like uh,
Yeah,
Saved by the Bell graphics around it. I think that would look so cool in 10 years when
right.
it's a throwback and once he's a big star and you've got this old one of him. That'll be really cool. But
It's kind of rolling the dice. But after this match, though, and I'm jumping around here, you had the OC hijack some of the cameras and saying, "Look, OTM, we're not really a fan of what you did to Mi Chen. We're coming after you." OTM, to me, looks like they may have the biggest challenge of their career once the OC finds them.
yeah, OTM is in a really tough spot because as a group, having a leader that is as big of a star as Jada Parker is and is doing as well as Jada Parker is, you say to yourself, well, this is great. We're on Dream Street right now. We're cruising along. Life is good. But the problem is that elevates your competition. And now you've got to stick up and you got to keep up your end of the deal as the OC is now coming for you. And you're right. It's not going to be easy, especially after OC ate a big loss for the tag team championships recently. They're not going to be happy about that. So they're going to want to take it out on OTM, and OTM has struggled on their own. So OTM absolutely has a tough outing ahead of them, because also if they don't beat the Good Brothers, Jada Parker ain't going to be happy about that. And I think having to face an angry Jada Parker might be more worrisome than facing an angry Good Brothers.
Yeah, fair enough. I can take Gallows, but Jada Parker, no, I cannot. That is not
No.
that's not going to happen. But let's jump around to our main event, which really wasn't a main event, but it was a sit down. 4 men that are going to compete for Sunday's NXT Championship: Trick Willie, Ethan Page, Sean Spears, and the young OG Javon Evans. Went back and forth, and I gotta be honest with you, Jack, because I'm always honest with you on these kinds of shows. Javon Evans acquitted himself very well. The one with arguably the least amount of experience looked like he could actually take the title because he was standing tall alongside the champ at the end of it all.
Yeah, I gotta say that I am more and more impressed each and every week with the way Trick Williams leverages Javon Evans to
Wait,
help
what?
him in situations like this to retain that championship. I mean, it's a masterclass, really. He learned everything I guess he knows from the best, which was Carmelo Hayes, and here he is now in a situation where he was pretty much outnumbered. But because he was able to pull the strings of Javon Evans, Trick Williams able to use him to help stand tall at the end of this contract signing. Well played, chess master Trick Williams.
Sir, are you implying cahoots?
Cahoots. Exact. Yes, cahoots. Do the kids still say cahoots?
I say cahoots, and I'm internally youthful. I don't think that's the case at all. I think Trick Williams has 3 distinct opponents ready to come after him on Sunday, and he has to put his head on the swivel because either one of them can take the title when it's all said and done.
Well, I agree. This could go any which way. And I think everyone really wants this, except I think that there's a level of Javon Evans who's a little too worried about being pals with Trick Williams. A little too, he thinks Javon Evans, the problem is he thinks this is us versus them. He thinks that it's Javon Evans and Trick Williams versus Sean Spears and Ethan Page. That's the problem. Yeah. Not for Trick Williams. Trick Williams thinks this is great. This is working out great for him. But this is not going to work out well for Javon Evans when Trick Williams hits him with that trick knee and pins him at Heatwave. That's going to be a huge dose of reality for the young OG. Side note, you can't be young and an OG. They're counterintuitive.
That's not true at all. You could be the youngest person of the OG crew and be the one that stays the longest and has the everlasting thing. You could be young and OG.
But you're not the OG. You're not an original if you're young. You can't be original and young. I'm the new original. That doesn't make sense.
It makes sense to me. If I had a crew and I was younger than that crew and everyone in that crew doesn't do it anymore, but I still do, I'm an OG and the youngest.
No, you're the old. Time waits for no one. Well, if you're young, you're not original. And if you're original, you're not young. Otherwise, you're the same. It's not the original. It's the same. If you're still young, it's the same, or you're not original.
Off your lawn, it
Tio man,
seems.
are you doing
Yeah, it's the Tio man. Yeah. Off your lawn, it seems. Anyway, I think if you're a young OG, let me know in the comments below because Jack doesn't get it.
yes, let me know in the chat, in the comments. Can you be both young and an OG? I don't think you can't. They're contradicting. I am the wise old youth is what I'm going to start calling myself.
And you are wise. Well, you're old. You're old. And
yes.
I wouldn't call you.
I would clip that out.
I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't do that. I was lying. I was going to try to be the whole bit, but I was like, no, I couldn't do that. I bailed mid-bit. That's which is totally a cardinal rule. Calling Jack wise is where I draw the line, man. I can't do it. But we have to talk about what's going on with your boys in the no quarter catch crew. Like we were talking about it a couple weeks ago, they kind of seem a bit more unhinged. And Tavion Heights had that win against Damon Kemp last week, but Oral Romancer got a little bit of revenge as he takes on Miles Bourne. And Miles, you could argue, is the conscience of the group and even decided to not use brass knuckles or a foreign object in this matchup, but it cost him the win. Jack, you told me no quarter catch crew is about doing it right, doing it with grapples and hooks and all that jazz. Now weapons are getting involved. What gives?
Technically, weapons didn't get involved. That's the problem. They should have got involved. I think right now, Miles Bourne is saying to himself, man, I need to start listening to Damon Kemp here. And in fact, I think, oddly enough, I don't want to step all over the flow of the show here, but I bet both Damon Kemp and Rich Holland are like, man, I am underappreciated in this group right now. But
Rich is next.
But Damon Kemp, I feel bad for the guy, right? But this is how teams work. Teams are always recruiting new athletes.
Okay.
And what happens to the older athletes? Eventually they get replaced. That's what happens to them, right? So when we're watching now as football is getting into training camp and mini OTAs and whatnot, what they're doing is they're getting their new scouts, their new drafts ready so that they can start releasing some of the old veterans. And I think what Damon Kemp is right now is he's that player that's been there for a while, but maybe his stats aren't where they were supposed to be. The team has drafted the next person that looks to be taking his spot, and he's trying to find something to keep on that team so he can continue to be a part of the team as we come into the next season. Damon Kemp is a great talent, and I think that he's going to be very valuable to somebody. But I look at the management of the no quarter catch crew right now, and I think they like new, they like flashy, they like different. And I think Damon Kemp might be on the way out.
Well, I got two more questions for you on this one. Do you think this happens sooner than later? Do you think Damon Kemp goes crazy and does something to get himself removed, or is he going to try as hard as he can and it'll be a tough conversation about saying, hey, look, you have a couple losses, we got to move on?
I think this is going to be something that Damon Kemp ends up making happen. This is a little bit of a ride the fence answer, but I think that Damon Kemp is going to continue to try to do things to try to show his value, and he's going to end up pushing too hard, and that's going to cause the team to say you've become a distraction, which hopefully they do. And the reason I say that is because Dempsey seems like he's a little unhinged right now, and I'd like him to be focused. And I think that would be something that might help focus him.
Is Miles Bourne a thigh guy?
Very close, man. Very close. I mean, he is on the bubble. He's on the bubble. He's getting there. I mean, I don't know if it's just because he looks so much like Randy Orton, who is certified thigh guy.
Right.
I don't know if that's what it is, but man, Miles Bourne, you're very close to being a thigh guy. You're right there.
For those of you who don't know, I actually have this in my notes. Please ask Jack. Most important question: is Miles Bourne a thigh guy? My dad wanted me to be a civil engineer. I said no. I'd rather do this for a living.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, the thigh guys are the most elite group of pro wrestling, and it is the guys with the biggest and best thighs in pro wrestling. A few rules. You have to wear the underwear tights. You can't wear anything that covers. If it covers any bit of your thigh, you're out. That's why Big E wasn't allowed in. I'm sorry, Big E, but yeah, just a little too much. A little too much there. Sorry. You got to,
Wow.
it's got to be the underwear tights, and it's only guys only, thigh guys. Thigh girl doesn't rhyme. You can't do it.
You gonna kick out girls with logistics only? Sorry, it doesn't
Sorry.
rhyme.
Sorry.
I got
I mean,
standards.
I almost made an exception for Jordan Grace, but sorry, there's rules.
Well, she's wearing fishnets though. Does fishnets count? Does that cover the thigh if you wear fishnets?
It does cover. Yeah, that was actually the thing that ended up throwing it over.
Sorry. So yeah, half the women's roster is ineligible because they wear fishnets.
Yeah, sorry. You got. I mean, that's look. I also make the rules.
Yeah, I'm gonna say you do make. I don't make the rules, but I do.
Those are the rules. So we got our Randy Ortons, we got our Drew McIntyres. You know,
Sure. Tyler Bates. Yeah.
Tyler Bate is the OG, the true OG. I don't call
he's
him
also the youngest OG because he's 26.
He happens to be young, but he's the OG. But we started this group like years ago. So
last question on this, because I thought this is something I had in my notes. I wasn't sure if it's too early to say, but do you think the CWC is coming around to the main man Oro Mensah, especially in Noam Dar's absence?
I hope so. Oro Mensah is a star. By the way, I've always talked about the farmers market and buy now when they're early, it's going to grow. We
have the drop,
sir. You though, sir, are we do your Oro Mensah pick. This has actually that has been like Bitcoin when it was 3 cents. Like
right?
you picked up Oro Mensah stock way long ago. And for those of you who are new to the show, I'm not talking about when he first came to NXT America. I mean, it was deep into NXT UK, even before his tag team Ready and Forward started taking off in NXT UK. You had Oro Mensah stock, so good on you. That stock is really starting to pay forward, and I think Oro Mensah has it. I love our Oro Mensah. I think he's given us a reason to like who he is from a personal level, but also what he can do in the ring. I think he stands out when he's in there. He's got charisma. He's got talent. I am all in on Oro Mensah, and CWC, if you're not into him yet, you should be, because he's got it all.
Oh yeah, a scoop of Mensah. I love it too, and maybe he could be a thigh guy in the future. That way, he could be the double crown, the farmers market pick and a thigh guy. Some way, somehow, someone will hit that mark.
Yes. Great. Again, he's got to wear the right tights. It's a rule. You can wear knee pads, but you can't cover the thighs. If otherwise, to me, it's just you're not proud of your thighs. You're not showing them to the world.
Real quick, let's talk about the whole Chase U thing, because Chase U was not in action, but they will be at Heatwave, and it looks like Rich Holland won't be going to Heatwave because Chase U, Andre Chase and Company, saw the physical evidence. I said Rich Holland got involved with a win 2 weeks ago. Your boy Riley Osborne was like, I told you that this Rich Holland guy isn't good. But Rich seems pretty sad because he has a shirt and everything. What say you, Jacob, with this Rich Holland situation?
I've told you can't trust Rich Holland. You can't trust this guy. I mean, he's no good. You don't want him around you. He's bad for you. He's bad for your team. And I'll tell you, the biggest thing he did, the worst thing he did, the thing that just absolutely ruffles my feathers is he brought the evidence of him doing wrong to the classroom. What are you doing? Why are you keeping that? Why do you even have the evidence? Burn the evidence, delete the files. Why are you keeping it on your person at all times, especially when you're sitting with the people who you don't want to find out about it? This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life, Flobo. I'm throwing pens over here. Ridge, what are you thinking?
Wait, so it's okay that he cheated. It's just really bad that he... It's fine that he totally broke the rules in wrestling, but the fact you had the photo to class is what you're upset about.
Yeah, that's like going to court with evidence in your pocket against you. I'm just gonna keep a big envelope filled with photos proving I'm guilty, and I'm gonna bring it with me just in case someone says, "Hey, what's in the envelope?" What are you doing? That's the silliest thing ever. Why? And then he's like, "Oh, they found out about it. How did this happen to me?" Like, at least hide it somewhere. At least put it in a safe. Put it in a safe deposit box. Bury it in a shallow grave. Do something with it, but don't keep it on your person.
I can't argue that logic. That makes perfect sense. You're absolutely
Like,
right. I have no counter to that. That is pretty dumb now you think about it. Why
right.
would
And
he
this
do
is
that?
and so if I'm running this school and I've had issues with gambling, I've had issues with people who have come in and tried to hijack the school. I don't want someone like this in my crew. This is like a heist, Flo, but you don't bring the person who's an idiot on the heist. You say, yes, stay back. Stay away from us. Where you're not in on the meetings anymore, pal. You're done. Ridge, you're done. Oh, get out of here. Come on. This was
Heist Club's
ridiculous.
closed for you. I love it.
I'm going to Heist 101. First class on the syllabus. First thing on the syllabus. Do not bring evidence to every event you do.
I have nothing to say there. You got me. Like Rich is dumb.
Come on. Come
Well,
on, Rich.
we got to talk about people who are not dumb and who have thighs. And that's Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne, New Catch Republic, making a trip to Tuesday nights, probably understanding that distancing themselves away from Rich Holland was a good idea, against Hank Walker and Tank Ledger. Now, I like New Catch Republic for taking on all challengers. I like them for giving them some time to work with new talent and new faces. But I will say, as a New Catch Republic fan, it took them a little longer to dispatch Hank and Tank than I thought it was. Let me ask you this. Did you notice that too? And is New Catch Republic missing something?
Yeah, my notes say that New Catch Republic should count their blessings that they got a win here at this event. Because Hank and Tank, what I love about them and where they're at is because they're perennial underdogs, they always take their best shot. Every time they're out there, they know that this could be it. And they took their best shot and it almost hit, but you can't miss against a team like the New Catch Republic. New Catch Republic barely squeezed a win out. And like I said, they need to count their blessings that they got that win, because if they had lost, this would have been very bad for them. But they won, they continue on, things are okay. But you're right, New Catch Republic needs to figure something out, because they can't be having these kind of matches that are this close and this difficult with a team like Hank and Tank, who they're lovable. I get it. I love them too. I want them to be successful, but let's call it as it is. New Catch Republic, they're a championship caliber team. They can't be struggling with the teams that aren't in the top of the power rankings. They need to be putting these teams away. This should have been an easy win. New Catch Republic needs to really start analyzing what's going on here.
But why is that the case? I mean, when they were 2/3 of British Strong Style, it was kind of a foregone conclusion. Give these guys all the gold. But New Catch Republic on SmackDown or Raw, because they kind of changed over the draft, are kind of okay. And then on NXT is a fun little treat. But I don't think of them as being anywhere near tag team gold. What the gives, man?
I think that they are having too much fun. I don't think they shouldn't be having fun. I look especially at someone like Pete Dunne. What made Pete Dunne great is he was snapping people's small joints and he was beating people up. He was bruising people. He was the bruiserweight. He bullied people. He pushed them around. Uh, Tyler Bate, for being a good guy, he used to beat people up. Now they're having a little bit too much fun. They're getting to hang out with their friend. They're getting to have a good time. They're not there to hurt people anymore. I want to see them be there to hurt people. I want to see them snapping joints. I want to see them picking those fights and get back to the roots that made them great. Be hooligans, be fighters, be people who beat people up. Don't be there to have a good time.
Well, talk about people who beat people up. Spooky Chew makes an appearance. She takes on Carly Bright alongside Kendall Gray. And even though Carly Bright has been a beacon of positivity, it just wasn't enough. Put to sleep by Wendy Chu, dead inside, is what was on her gear as she made her way to the ring. What say you in the scope of spooky things happening in WWE? Does Wendy Chu have a slot on the card?
How how easy is it to identify with someone like Wendy Chu? Like, no matter how much sleep you get, when you're woken up before you want to get up, you're going to be crabby. And
Mhm.
that's what happened with Wendy Chu. We gave her all the time in the world to sleep in, catch up on some Z's, count as many sheep as she needed to. But we woke her up before she was ready, and now she's everybody's problem. Now she's an issue. Now she's upset. And you know what? I like this Wendy Chu. I think this Wendy Chu is dangerous. I think this Wendy Chu is here to put other people to sleep, because I think she realized once everyone's asleep, she gets to have as much sleep of her own as she wants. And so I got a feeling it's nap time for a lot of folks at NXT.
Do you think Wendy Chu is in the same vein as the Wyatt Six, or do you think she's doing her own thing? And if she's doing her own thing, do you wonder if people will consider her being a bit, I don't know, derivative?
Wyatt Six are their own thing. We got to stop comparing everybody to the Wyatt Six because I think the Wyatt Six is living in their own universe here. But at the same time, let's let's be honest. Like when you are someone that influential, like the Wyatt Six, when you are as big as they've become in such a short period of time, you are going to have people who take influence from you. Obviously, Shawn Michaels was great. Suddenly there's super kicks everywhere we see. You know, how many people do sharpshooters these days? You're going to see greatness in other places. And so if there's a little bit of derivative nature to Wendy Chu, I think it's just because the Wyatt Six is so great.
I'm with that as well. I think she's her own thing, but I still don't understand why she's dead inside. Like, what happened? Did she like get possessed? Did she have a bad day? Was it bad boba? Is she like, I want that answered. Maybe I don't get an answer. Maybe I'm asking
Have
for
you
too
ever been
much.
woken up? Have you ever been woken up before work and thought to yourself, "I'm dead inside"? I mean,
Only when I
Monday
work with
morning.
you.
Who doesn't wake up Monday morning and just think, "I am dead inside"? This
Wow, wow. That is awful. I mean, true and accurate, but awful, man. We love our jobs.
I mean,
Some of us do. I don't know.
yeah.
All right. So also in the women's division, we saw Izzy Dame taking on Brinley Reese, and Izzy got to win because you know what? She is that good. And those other people are NARPs, non-athletic regular people. But Brinley Reese,
Hmm.
man, and her bad, no good losing streak. Backstage with Malik and Idris saying, hey, maybe it's just not working. I'm gonna go work out by myself. Did your heart break like how my heart broke this week?
Well, it's sad, but we've said before, sometimes you need to quit being positive and you need to have a heart to heart. You can't always be happy about what's going on. I'm sure that Kobe Bryant wasn't happy every single day about in his basketball career. I'm sure he
Fair.
had a lot of days he was upset. I'm sure he had a lot of days we had to look in the mirror and say, look, I need to change something. I need to work harder. And if you want to get to the top, that's what you need to do. You don't think Roman Reigns ever looked in the mirror and said, you know what, man, I got to quit saying suffering succotash. I got to start putting my finger in the
He
air.
said it
Like,
once. He did it
you
once.
know, you don't think John Cena didn't look at himself in the mirror and was like, look, man, I'm wearing these weird tights. I got to start wearing jorts. I got to start changing things up. Like you need to have those hard conversations with yourself. And I understand the positivity and I understand wanting to be that person, but sometimes you've got to say this isn't working and this is bad and we need to change it. Otherwise, it's going to continue to be bad.
We are seeing a bit of change in the ring gear. Some different moves have been in Brindley's arsenal. Hopefully, she finds a way to turn it around. But the secondary story here was the appearance of Tatum Paxley. Now, Izzy Dame and Tatum Paxley did challenge for the knockout TNA Knockouts Championship over the past couple weeks, but it looks like Tatum Paxley wants all the gold, and anyone who stands in her way is a new challenge and or opponent.
I'm loving Tatum Paxley. I like that she's getting out there and Ricky says John Cena sees nothing in the mirror. Fair point. You're right.
Fair
Yeah, I
point.
stand corrected. But Tatum Paxley, I like that. I always like the wrestlers that take an active role in what they're doing and an active role in trying to move forward and become champions. And that's what she's doing. She's not waiting around. You'll find a lot of people, they complain to the general managers or they're sitting back in the locker room and they're upset about things. Not Tatum Paxley. She goes right to the source. She says, look, this is what I want. I'm coming to you, whether you like it or not, whenever I feel like it's the right time. Tatum Paxley, by the way, in the future, I could see her as a money in the bank holder as the worst kind because she just pops up out of nowhere, it seems, and gets in her opponent's head. Could you imagine a Tatum Paxley with a money in the bank briefcase? That would be terrifying.
Oh yeah, maybe she should get that, or at least a breakout tournament next year. But something tells me she will get gold way before then, and because everyone's kind of creeped out about her, because everyone's being the whole spooky
Mhm.
thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's also not just the spooky thing. She's got that. I'm trying to find the right way to say this. She's a stalker, right?
Oh,
Like, and let's talk about it. I mean,
talk about it.
people. I know we don't want to say people love a good stalker. You look at all these different crime podcasts.
What?
You look at all these different. I mean, I'm just saying, Baby Reindeer was a very popular show on Netflix. People are obsessed with them. They love them. They hate them, but they love them. I mean, Tatum Paxley, America's sweetheart.
I gotta beg. This brings us to this week's general manager pick'em. As you know, this Sunday. So welcome to General Manager Pick'em. I ask my broadcast colleague Jack Farber questions as if he's general manager, and I'm not about stalkers. So, as you know, this Sunday's NXT Heatwave, and it's going to be this Sunday, right after the Money in Bank PLE. But with rumors swirling or confirming that in 2026, SummerSlam is going to be 2 nights, there has been talk about having an NXT PLE on the Saturday of night 1, much like WrestleMania. That way you get more international fans and more eyes on the product. You're the general manager right now there, Jack Farmer. Would you keep Heatwave where it is on Money in the Bank weekend, or find a way to move it to a 2-night SummerSlam in 2026?
I would move it to the 2-night SummerSlam in 2026. Now, as a fan, I like it when my shows are spread out a little bit, so I don't have to watch too much in one weekend. But for anyone who's been to WrestleMania and at the city where it's happening, and there's all the wrestling that's going on around there, and you do have NXT that morning, you have the 2-night WrestleMania, there is something different about that. It's the overload of pro wrestling, I think, is good for everybody involved. It's good for the city. It's good for the wrestlers. It's good for other companies around there that they can have their shows running at the same time. Make it a spectacle. Make it as big as possible. Make it as much stuff happening during SummerSlam weekend as you can. Make it one of those things like WrestleMania that just brings the entire wrestling world together. I say add on to it. I say make it bigger, make it better, and a rising tide raises all ships. And I think SummerSlam would really raise all pro wrestling at the end of the summer.
Yeah, I'm with you. If I was a GM, even though in this hypothetical I am not, imagine if you had the NXT show on broadcast television, because really, what is broadcast TV nowadays? That'd be the perfect time to say, hey, look, twice a year we combine, we have Worlds Collide, we have all these different things. Come on out to the summer festival or the spring festival to see all 3 brands. But it could be a lot if you are burnt out of wrestling by that time of the year as well. So,
yeah, no, I mean, there absolutely is a level of burnout, but I think when you look at the success of 2-night WrestleMania and when you look at how well that's gone, it's hard to argue against it, I think.
Black, you know, it's also hard to argue the cool entrance of Carmen Petrovic, baby. Even though she interacted with Ariana Grace backstage, she had a match against Jasmine Nix, with Jasmine Nix getting the win. But guess what? Ava, who's been very busy, but at the same time not on screen a lot this week, was like, at our pre-show, it's going to be a tag team match player with Carmen and Ariana Grace against JC Jane and Jasmine Nix. What happened? How did it evolve? Are you looking forward to the match this weekend?
I do love her entrance as well. I think it's really cool. For someone who swings a sword around, though, Carmen sure doesn't seem focused enough, does she? I mean, in the middle of the match, she's getting distracted by all this other stuff going on. Not even really sure who her partner's going to be, even though Ariana Grace, clearly the best option, is sitting right there. If you're going to swing sharp objects around, you got to be a little bit more focused, I think, Flobo.
And you think that Ariana Grace is going to be that focus for Carmen? Is that what you're saying?
I think Ariana Grace in her hometown in Canada, I think is going to be a really big help to someone like Carmen, who isn't quite as Canadian as Ariana Grace is.
What does that even mean? Not quite as Canadian? What does that mean?
Yeah. Well, you heard Ariana Grace. She talked about it earlier, and
Sure.
I don't want to repeat everything she said, but clearly Ariana Grace is more Canadian than Carmen Petrovic is. So I think that having her there will really help unite the country behind them, as opposed to if it was just Carmen in the country, not really sure who to cheer for.
How is still answer the question? How is somebody more Canadian? Okay, we all know Wolverine is the most Canadian person ever, but how is somebody more or less Canadian?
Who's the most Canadian person?
Wolverine. I mean, duh.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. He is.
But
so
how is he more or less Canadian than Ariana Grace or Carmen Petrovic?
So Ariana Grace, right? She represents poise. She represents class. She's the kind of person you want your kids to grow up to be. And she is just completely Canadian. Carmen, on the other hand, not not really. I mean, come on. Jasmine Nixon and JC Jane, by the way, though, I do want to pivot to them. Their teamwork and their ability to come together very quickly has been incredible. I don't think we're talking enough about how well this team, who wasn't a team up until recently, suddenly just seems so in sync right now.
They're fine.
Eh?
Face mask powers might overwhelm them, but we'll get to predictions in a bit. But there's some things I've noticed this week on NXT. I want your help to help me navigate and suss through them because you're the only option that's around at 10 a.m. Pacific on a Wednesday. You down?
Let's do it.
Kalani Jordan is North American champion in the women's division. She's taking on Soruka this weekend, but she has a very much like I'll take on all comers. I'll be a workhorse. Nobody really believed me, all that kind of thing. Without getting into predictions or spoilers, do you foresee a long reign for Kalani Jordan?
Yes. And I don't just say that willy-nilly. I say that because of history. And I look at who has been the first people to hold championships in the past in NXT, and they've all been incredible champions. So I'm going to say that she's going to have a good run. And I think that Kalani Jordan also, as we've seen from that video of her background, her pedigree, where she comes from, this isn't a fluke. She's an athlete and she's a winner. And so I think she's going to continue doing that for quite some time.
The number one contender, Lola Vice, for the NXT Women's Championship, had a talking with Roxanne Perez. And I got to be honest with you, Jack, it looks like both women had different agendas at the same time. It looks like everyone wants that title. We get that, but the motivation behind it was kind of muddied. Can Lola Vice find a way to make sure Roxanne knows what she wants before this weekend?
Well, I think she told her what she wants, but I think we all know what she wants. It's to be the champion. It's to win the NXT championship from Roxanne Perez. I think that's a lot easier said than done. And even when you have the best of intentions, it doesn't mean it necessarily goes your way. I don't want to say too much because, of course, our predictions are coming up in a little bit. But I think, as Roxanne Perez said, everything that Lola Vice says she wants is what everyone wants.
Eddie Thorpe is backstage talking to Lexis King about beat bop robot music. Why is Lexis King such a hater?
Because he likes the classics. You hate a guy for liking the classics?
Yes.
I mean, come on. Guns N' Roses, Whitesnake, the Scorps. How do you not like those 5-minute guitar solos? I mean, that's what people want. That's what the kids want these days. As I look at things like TikToks and Insta stories, I find that what kids want these days is longer content, more of the music instead of short little bite-sized chunks. I think that Lexis King has his fingers on the pulse.
I disagree. I mean, he's not even close to the pulse, not at all. Because if you look, Eddie Thorpe had a fan base hanging with him and having a good time. There was no one hanging around Lexis King backstage this week.
Well, as far as Eddie Thorpe goes, us DJs got to stick together. So keep on killing it. Keep on crushing, Eddie Thorpe. When's the next show? Let me see that flyer. I'm here for you.
Yeah, flip-floppity.
Flip-flop bebop music.
Lord. We had a very tender moment this week where Shawn Michaels is reaching out to Brooks Jensen to have a sit down with General Manager Ava about what's next for Brooks. We hadn't seen Shawn Michaels in a long time, so it must be a serious situation. But do you think NXT is trying too hard to reconcile with Brooks Jensen?
I think this is really good of NXT to do. Obviously, sometimes there's you hear rumors about the way athletes are treated or some superstars been treated, but this shows us that Shawn Michaels, NXT, really cares about the people that have worked there or that do work there, I should say. As Shawn Michaels said, Brooks Jensen still works for NXT, still part of the team there. And when you have a talent like Brooks Jensen, you want to make sure that you do right by them. So I'm hoping they do right by Brooks Jensen, and I'm hoping that next week goes well.
Well, riddle me this then. Gals is still beating up talent backstage. How come no one's sitting them down to have a little nice chat about being part of the family? Jack.
They deserve it.
Fair enough. All right, yeah, that's our burning questions for this week. Let's talk. What? What do you mean they deserve it? What do you
I
mean?
mean, I'm a Gallus fan, but have you seen the way they conduct themselves? I mean, sometimes
Oh,
you're asking for it.
that is just awful. Yeah,
Hey!
mayor of the parking lot, Jack Farmer here. Sometimes they deserve it. Vote for me.
My campaign's going well.
I can see that. Buy the merch. What's it? jackcfarmer.com? Is that the website?
At jackcfarmer.com.
Putting you over wobbly. All right, let's talk about this. NXT Heatwave is their biggest part of the summer, and it's actually 5 matches plus the pre-show. So 5 championships will be on the line. I think one of the first times ever we've seen this with NXT. But the pre-show match, the one we talked about a little bit earlier, is Ariana Grace and Carmen Petrovic taking on JC Jane and Jasmine Nix. Jack Farmer, who do you got?
I go with JC Jane and Jasmine Nix. I said earlier, they are a well-oiled team. They know how to work together. They are both talented individually. And I just don't know if Ariana Grace can carry Carmen Petrovic through a team like that. Ariana Grace, truly one of the greatest. Again, someone we look to as a role model, someone we look to as really someone to aspire to be. But it's basically a 2-on-1 handicap at this point.
Kalani Jordan.
She will have the power of the city behind her, though.
Toronto does not count. Toronto's a debuff, as they say in the video game wars. Kalani Jordan is having the first ever defense for the NXT Women's North American Championship, and her opponent is handpicked. Sol Ruka Kalani Jordan, who's walking out with the gold.
I think you said it. Sol Ruka's handpicked. There's a reason champions handpick opponents. It's because they can beat them. Kalani Jordan picked Sol Ruka because she knows that she can beat Sol Ruka, and I know she can beat Sol Ruka. Sol Ruka is going to win a lot of championships. Sol Ruka is going to do very, very well, but she ain't winning at Heatwave. Kalani Jordan is a star, and she's going to really build what that championship means in NXT.
Wow, she walk away with her soul intact. But talking about soul, what about this run right here? Wesley has said he has nothing without the North American Championship, but he has to go through the ruler, Oba Femi, Oba Lee, for the NXT North American Championship.
Oba Femi is a monster. Oba Femi is like when you play WWE 2K and you make all your stats 100. This isn't a fight. This is going to be a massacre. Oba Femi is absolutely next level. We talk about people who can have the championship for a long time. Oba Femi, the only reason he'll ever lose that championship is because he's going to relinquish it at some point to go for something else or get drafted to another brand, or they're just going to have to retire it because it's been too long. He's not losing that title. No one in NXT can take it from him. Wesley, I love you, but you're going to have to figure out what you are in a world without the North American Championship.
Speaking about figuring things out, Nathan Frazier and Axiom hasn't figured out their training schedule because they haven't been on the same page for weeks. It looks like Nathan Frazier distracted, but will they get it together in time to take down Chase U? The NXT Tag Team Championships are on the line also at Heatwave.
This is a tough one to call, and it's going to be a matter of who can win with their handicap. Here we have Axiom and Frazier is a team that they can't get on the same page. They're burning the candle at both ends. They both are trying to do too much all at once. But on the other hand, you got Chase U, and their secret weapon, Ridge Holland, isn't going to be in the country. So how are they going to get the win? This is going to be very interesting to see. It's always not what plan A is. It's what plan B and C is. And in this case, I take Frazier and Axiom. I think that they became the champions before, and they still are. That means I have to err on the side of the champions retaining champions advantage. I give it to them.
Can't knock the champions medal, but let's talk about the NXT Women's Championship. The prodigy Roxanne, we said on the show she could be a transitional champion, but we can't say transitional anymore if she wins this weekend. But to do that, she has to go through Vice City. Lola Vice, Roxanne Perez, NXT Women's Championship.
Lola Vice showed that this championship matchup is more than just a regular match. She showed that it's very personal for her. It's part of her story. It's part of her history. And she showed that how much this means to her on a very individual, emotional, personal level. And that's why I have to pick Roxanne Perez, because I am famous for always saying I pick the person who doesn't take it personally. I take cold calculation over personal animosity every single day of the week. You know, adrenaline only lasts so long. Strategy goes the distance. I go Roxanne Perez.
That is incredibly dark, sir. But let's talk about our main event. Trick Willie has said he'll take on all challengers, but guess what? He has three. It is going to be the chairman, Sean Spears, the young OG, Javon Evans, and all ego Ethan Page for a fatal four-way for the NXT Championship. Jack Farmer, did Trick Willie bite off more than he can chew?
Typically, I back the champion because the champion is, again, championship advantage. They've won the title. They're the best in the world until someone beats them. This is something a little different here. I think Trick Williams has done a very good job of manipulating young Javon Evans to try to be at his side. But when I think about what I just said, when I think about who's the least emotional, who's the most cold and calculated of the group, I go with the guy who has already beaten Trick Williams. I'm going Sean Spears in his home country. I'm going Sean Spears to become your new NXT champion.
Just for reference sake, I think I agree with most of them, but I have Lola Vice ahead of Roxanne, and I have Ethan Page ahead of Sean Spears. But we're pretty much majority in lockstep, which is disgusting. I hate it.
Yeah. Ethan Page is a good pick. Might be Ethan Page. I think Ethan Page, the reason I don't pick him is because I think he's got a war on too many fronts, similar to Trick Williams. I think that Trick Williams is his focus, but I think that Javon Evans doesn't like all ego. And I think that Javon Evans is probably going to try to do whatever he can to help Trick Williams out by taking out all ego. Also, Oro Mensah is in the distance. And I think Oro Mensah could be a wild card factor here for someone like all ego.
I gotta put you on the spot here. We were saying post Stand and Deliver that NXT is a good show, but really wasn't firing on the same cylinders it was in the winter time. But we have the first ever 5 championship PLE on the line at Heatwave. Can this potentially be the biggest event in the year for the white and gold brand?
It certainly could be one of the most important as we go into a new chapter. And for those who are watching might not understand, we're talking about firing on all cylinders. I always like to compare it to a college football team. You got a great team, you do well, Stand and Deliver rolls around. Guess what? Your best players got drafted. You got to start over. You got to try to bring up new talent. You got to try to train the rookies. You got to try to get a new team together. That's the phase that NXT is in. They're building up the new stars so they can have that championship caliber team come the next Stand and Deliver. And I feel like we are at a situation where this is kind of the end of preseason. We're about to get into the regular season. We're going to see how this new group does. And then we're going to start to see what they really start cooking with after Heatwave. So Heatwave is going to be a very transitional, in a good way, kind of show, I think.
Even more shame is Parker's not there. But Jack, I got one more question for you. I think you know what it is. Now time for our favorite segment of the show. It's the MVP of NXT. Oh, yeah, this is the go-home show, as they say, inside the business before NXT Heatwave. Who was the person that stuck out for you the most? Person, tag team, staff member, your pick.
I'll be shocked if we don't have the same person here. Jada Parker. Jada Parker, who, by the way, is not only the MVP of NXT, but is either the MVP of NXT every week or in the top 3, it seems, every week for the past few months. But Jada Parker, like I said at the top here, this was a star-making week for her. I don't even know if that's the right word, because we've all known she's a star, but this was her time where she showed that it's no longer just a hypothetical. It is now a fact. This was a Jada Parker moment. This was a Jada Parker week. Jada Parker, MVP of NXT this week with a bullet for me.
Yeah, I have to go with that because there's a lot of people that talk tough and don't get it done. And we can have a whole list of doing that. But it's not so much getting the victory over a former champion in Mi Chen, but just the idea of going the way you did it with the weapons used, with the running charges. We're seeing more what Jada Parker can do as far as her moveset's concerned, and it's getting bigger by the week. It's getting bigger by the month. I'm with you, man. Has to be Miss Parker.
Yeah. If anyone disagrees, by the way, in the chat or in the comments, I would love to hear an argument on who you think the MVP of NXT was, because it'd be very hard to convince me otherwise. But let me know. I'd love to know if the people who are watching feel any differently.
Yeah, can you believe Heatwave is here? It's July. It's Jack Farmer's birthday month, which I hate. I know you hate me saying out loud, but I'm saying it anyway. Are you seeing it live? Are you seeing it on delay? What's the deal this weekend?
I will probably see it on delay, but I'm definitely going to watch it. I'm looking forward to it. By the way, I forgot to mention this on Monday. For those of you who know, Flobo and I, we were both on the Wrestling Inc. Monday Night Raw after show. I forgot to mention it.
Oh,
July 1st.
yeah.
Well, July 1st is my 5-year wrestling talk show anniversary. 2019, July 1st. It was the WWE Raw when Paul Heyman took over Raw, and it was when Lashley and Braun Strowman went through the staging, if you recall. That was my first time as AfterBuzz TV.
I'm so happy for you, brother.
Little did you know I'd be a thorn in your side for the next 5 years.
What the heck are we doing? We should have been fired for that.
Yeah, that was a terrible show, but no, we did pretty good. That was a pretty good episode, actually.
No, Jack, it's always a good thing because you are way more famous than I am. And to say I work with you for most of those, it means it's not. It really isn't. I called my mom this week. She's like, "Who?" I was like, "I'm your son." No, I'm saying no. The fact you're getting bigger every week, it means a lot to me because you're just goddamn good, baby.
Nah, no, I owe it all to George Hermosa, who also, if you watch Wrestling Inc., was the person that got one of the people that got me on a regular show there. You also got me on there, so I owe you as well. But
yes, you do. No, I'm just kidding. That's silly. This weekend, it's Heatwave. It's Money in the Bank. It's more wrestling that you can shake a stick at. If someone wants to connect with you, follow you online, see your takes on other wrestling, grappling arts, and sciences, how to go about doing that.
You can follow me at Real Jack Farmer across all social media. You can also check out my website, as mentioned earlier, jackcfarmer.com. I got some merch on there, and you can see some of my work in commentary, ring announcing, interviews, hosting, and more. But also, speaking of, I'm going to be doing some commentary for Santino Bros on July 27th, the LA Rumble. One person wins, 29 crumble. The winner gets a shot at the Santino Brothers Championship. If you're in Southern California, you absolutely need to make your way over there. It's a really fun time. You get to see a bunch of wrestlers. It's basically the Royal Rumble for us here in Southern California. If you're not able to watch it there in person, it's going to be streaming live for free on YouTube. You're going to want to see that.
Well, I wish I was doing something as cool as you guys, but I am going to be working this summer on a new comic book. It's called First Place Losers. It's set in the world of motorsport, but instead of cars, you're racing robots, racing mechs, because why not? First Place Losers is going to hit you this summer. Follow me at Flobo Boyce on X to learn more about how you can support the Kickstarter and all that jazz. Like you, though, I have a party this weekend, friend's birthday party, so I have to watch Heatwave on delay, but I will definitely check it out and make sure my notes are pretty much filled for next week's episode of Draped in Gold. Yeah.
Love it. Sounds good.
Yeah, man, but we're back here next Wednesday. Learn more about the show at drapedingold.com. But until then, my man, say the words.
Do your best and be yourself.